co-author David M. Brown's interview with New London explosion survivor Carolyn Jones Frei on The Rob Pratt Show, KDKA Radio, 1020 AM, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, February 13th, 2010.
The Rob Pratt Show, News Radio 1020, KDKA. Let's get Carol Frei on here if we can, Dave, and I'm looking so forward to this. Set the stage again on who she is, and then we'll begin with this interview. And ladies and gentlemen, you are not going to want to leave the earshot of your radio because it's going to be very powerful stuff. Go ahead, Dave.
Well, first of all, Carolyn Jones Frei is called us this morning from Idaho, where it's very early.
Very early.
So we really appreciate that. She was a fifth grader in the school, the New London, at that time it was called the London Junior Senior High School, and it served both the London and New London, Texas communities. She was practicing for a spelling bee that day and was with another fellow student and a teacher practicing to go into a countywide competition when the explosion happened. And I'll let Carolyn, if she will, relate what she recalls about that day. And
good morning, Carolyn.
Good morning.
It's great to have you on this broadcast. And let me just say this. I read some of the information that you had sent about your life, and I found it to be very riveting stuff. You definitely write well. So just to let you know, I appreciated that very much.
Well, thank you very much for inviting me. I have a message that's really not mine. It's a message for all of the people, particularly those who did not survive. I was fortunate enough to live through this, but there were so many who didn't, and of course the ones who did are dwindling. So this is a very important time in our lives. It's about our last chance to talk to people about what we learned that day in 1937. I was, as Dave mentioned, I was fortunate enough to survive because I was on the spelling team, and another girl, Barbara Moore, and I were in the study hall, and so our coach, Miss Story, came and got me out of the study hall and took me down to a far wing of the building where we would have quiet and privacy to visit and to about what was going to happen the next day and to study our spelling. And as I would like to say, there were two rooms full of students and three teachers, a librarian and two teachers in that other building, in that other room, and all of them were killed. So I feel like I owe my life to what happened before that time to save me.
There's no question about that. You were really and in reading in this prose that you wrote of what happened that day is very well written, Carolyn. I've told you that before. But at first, Mrs. Sorey, you saw something, or you saw pictures falling off the wall.
Well, the first thing that made us realize that something was happening was a terrible shaking. The building shook, and then the room, dust started pouring into the room, and pictures fell off the wall, and there was this deep-seated rumbling from as if something was shaking the building violently. So she realized quickly that this was a dangerous thing, and so she took us over to the casement windows and pushed us through the windows, and then she was able to climb through after us. But when we emerged out on the ground outside the window, the whole ground was covered with inches thick shards of glass. So I lost her then. I never saw her again after that. And Barbara and I were outside the building. Was open to the air, and children, people covered with blood were climbing out through what was left of the walls. There was a PTA meeting going on in the gym across from it, and of course the people at the meeting, the parents, heard this, and so they came pouring out of the gym and in shock and horror, and came running over to the building. Well, after a little while, I mean, I could see, people that hadn't survived and people who were injured wandering around. The room was the most total chaos, and so after I stood around for a while and didn't quite know what to do, I left, and I wanted to go home. Like any child, I wanted to go home to get away from that terrible scene. So I ran it was about a mile through the pine woods, past some houses on the lease. And
how old were you then, Carolyn?
I was 9.
Wow.
I had.
I want to jump in here real quick because I want to pick the story up. But boy, you're just painting such vivid memories. And before we go to break, Dave, the thing that really stood out in that first segment with Carolyn was she never saw that person again. And you said to me, I turned our mics off, and you said people just ran in all sorts of directions, and some just moved away after that.
Well, if you remember from our interview with Mr. Clayton, his family moved. He left that next week. He was hurt seriously, but he left, and I'm sure that a lot of people did move away. I think Carolyn didn't see. It was Mrs. Story you didn't see again. Was that right, Carolyn?
Right, that's right. And her husband was the band director, and she was a fifth grade teacher. They left immediately, and neither of them ever taught in schools again.
Didn't they lose?
Yeah.
It wasn't his niece or her niece living with them and was killed. Somebody in their family was killed too.
Well, I'm not sure. That's possible because the stories. Everyone has a horrifying story about the next few days.
Let's pick it up with the next.